Valeria shifted her bag on her shoulder, feeling its weight as a symbolic reminder of her past. She cast a lingering, heartfelt gaze at the orphanage that had been her sanctuary and crucible for nearly 2 decades. The towering red brick structure, with its weathered facade, had been the cradle of both her tenderest memories and her deepest sorrows. It had witnessed her journey from a lonely child to a resilient young adult, a place where fleeting friendships were forged amidst moments of solitude. With a profound, shuddering sigh, she turned away from the place that had cradled her formative years, her heart pounding with a tumultuous blend of trepidation and exhilaration for the uncharted future that lay ahead. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. On this radiant, sunlit morning, Valeria was on the cusp of an exhilarating new chapter. Thanks to the unwavering support of the orphanage director, she had secured an opportunity that seemed almost like a fantastical dream just a short while ago, an esteemed position as a housekeeper in the grandiose estate of Richard Maxwell, a distinguished real estate magnate known for his opulent lifestyle. The prospect of stepping into such an elite world filled her with a sense of awe and anticipation, a stark contrast to the world she was leaving behind. As Valeria arrived at the grandiose mansion, its majestic presence casting long shadows on the manicured grounds, she was met by James, the butler whose service to the Maxwell family spanned over 3 decades. His piercing gaze and rigid demeanor seemed almost impervious, casting a formidable shadow over Valeria's nerves. Yet, despite the intimidating aura he projected, she stood tall, resolute in her determination to demonstrate her worth and rise to the challenge. James led her through the opulent corridors with a detached, almost clinical formality, his tone laced with an unmistakable undercurrent of skepticism. "I hope you grasp the immense responsibility that accompanies this position," James remarked with a commanding presence as they proceeded through the luxurious hallways. His tone was imbued with an authority that bordered on intimidation. The Maxwell family is notoriously exacting and demands nothing short of perfection. Any lapse, no matter how minor, will not be tolerated. Valeria's heart raced as she nodded, her face a mask of calm determination, despite the storm of apprehension swirling inside her. "I understand, Mr. James. I am fully committed to giving my very best." The initial days of her new role proved to be an unrelenting trial. James seemed to take every opportunity to scrutinize her work, his criticism often sharp and unyielding. He was quick to highlight even the smallest of errors, his piercing gaze a constant reminder of the high standards expected. Each disapproving comment and critical glance from him felt like an emotional weight, adding to the mounting pressure Valeria experienced. However, her resolve remained resolute. She refused to let the relentless scrutiny diminish her spirit. Instead, her determination grew stronger with each passing day, becoming a driving force that propelled her forward. Every morning, before the first light touched the mansion's grand facade, Valeria was already awake, driven by an unwavering sense of duty. The quiet solitude of the early hours became her sanctuary, a time when she could immerse herself in her tasks with undivided focus. Her daily routine was marked by impressive diligence and meticulous attention to detail. She cleaned each room with painstaking care, ensuring that every surface gleamed with perfection. The common areas were maintained with an eye for elegance and order, and the kitchen was kept in an immaculate state, ready for any culinary demands that might arise. Despite the constant barrage of critique from James, Valeria's resolve was unshakable. She approached each criticism not as a setback, but as a learning opportunity. Her days were filled with a relentless pursuit of improvement, her efforts dedicated to mastering the art of maintaining the mansion's opulence. Every task was performed with a fervent desire to meet and exceed the expectations set before her. She absorbed every lesson, no matter how small, with an open heart and a willing spirit. The mansion, with its sprawling rooms and intricate details, became a canvas for Valeria's growing expertise. She was determined to transform every criticism into a stepping stone towards excellence. Her days blended into a rhythm of hard work and perseverance, and though the journey was arduous, her commitment never wavered. Each successful completion of her duties brought a sense of accomplishment, a small victory against the backdrop of the demanding environment she was navigating. Through it all, Valeria remained steadfast, driven by the profound opportunity to prove herself and make her mark in this new chapter of her life. One particularly challenging morning, Valeria found herself grappling with the intricate task of cleaning the grand chandeliers that adorned the living room. The sheer magnitude of the task felt overwhelming, each crystal requiring meticulous attention. As she worked, the familiar sound of footsteps announced James's approach. His presence was as imposing as ever. "You left a noticeable stain on the dining table last night," James declared with an air of stern disapproval, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. "Such lapses are utterly unacceptable." The sharpness in his tone made Valeria's heart sink. She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his criticism settle heavily on her shoulders. "I'm truly sorry, Mr. James," she managed to say, her voice trembling slightly. "I will be more attentive in the future." James let out a weary sigh, his skepticism still evident. "We'll see," he replied curtly, his gaze unwavering. "Remember, this role demands nothing less than perfection." Despite the relentless challenges and the harsh criticisms, Valeria found solace in fleeting moments of tranquility amidst her grueling routine. The mansion's garden emerged as a sanctuary, a haven where she could momentarily escape the pressure of her duties. During brief breaks, she would retreat to this serene space, allowing herself a few precious minutes of respite. There, surrounded by the vibrant colors of blooming flowers and the soothing melodies of chirping birds, Valeria would sit quietly, finding comfort and clarity. These moments of reflection helped her recharge and reaffirm her purpose, building a better future for herself, one painstaking task at a time. As night fell and Valeria retired to her modest bed in her small room within the mansion, she felt a profound sense of exhaustion. Yet, amid the fatigue, there was a satisfying sense of accomplishment. Each day, despite James's unrelenting scrutiny, brought her a step closer to mastering her role. She closed her eyes, allowing herself a moment of peace before sleep overtook her, ready to face the trials of another day with renewed determination. Before the first light of dawn had fully painted the sky, Valeria was already up, her mind brimming with resolve. Another day at the Maxwell mansion awaited her, and her objective remained clear: to prove her capability and commitment through unwavering excellence, regardless of the constant criticisms. The kitchen, her favorite area of the mansion, offered her a sense of familiarity and comfort. That morning, as she meticulously cleaned every surface, she lost herself in thoughts about the promising future she was working towards. The kitchen became her sanctuary, a place where her dreams mingled with the tasks at hand, reinforcing her determination to rise above the challenges and demonstrate her true worth. As Valeria diligently carried out her tasks in the kitchen, her concentration was absolute, and she was blissfully unaware of the firm, purposeful footsteps drawing closer. Richard Maxwell, the patriarch of the Maxwell family, had just returned from an exhaustive business trip that had taken him far from home. The fatigue etched into his features was palpable, yet beneath that weariness lay something more profound, a deep-seated sorrow that had clung to him since the heart-wrenching disappearance of his daughter. Richard had entered the kitchen with a simple intention to quench his thirst with a glass of water. However, as he stepped into the room, his attention was abruptly captured by a sight that made him momentarily freeze. Valeria, her back turned as she busied herself with her duties, was wearing a heart-shaped necklace that seemed oddly familiar. The moment his gaze fell upon it, Richard's breath caught in his throat. The necklace was strikingly similar to one his daughter had worn the day she vanished, an artifact of profound personal significance and unfulfilled memories. Gathering his composure, Richard cleared his throat, the words coming out strained and hesitant. "Excuse me," he said, his voice quivering slightly despite his efforts to remain calm. Valeria whirled around, startled by the sudden presence of the master of the house. Her heart skipped a beat as she met his intense gaze. "Good morning, Mr. Maxwell," she said, her voice betraying a hint of anxiety as she tried to mask her nervousness. Richard took deliberate steps toward her, his eyes locked on the necklace that glinted softly against the light. "That necklace is quite beautiful," he remarked, his voice heavy with an undercurrent of emotion. "Have you had it for a long time?" Valeria instinctively reached up to touch the necklace, a nervous habit she had developed over the years. Her fingers caressed the heart-shaped pendant, a gesture filled with both comfort and longing. "Yes, sir," she replied softly, her voice imbued with a tender nostalgia. "I've had it for as long as I can remember. It's been with me through everything. It's the only connection I have to my past, a precious link to memories that have shaped my life." Richard's eyes softened as he listened to her words, a flicker of hope and anguish intertwining in his gaze. The necklace, so intricately woven into the fabric of Valeria's past, seemed to be a tangible connection to the daughter he had lost. As the gravity of the moment settled around them, both Richard and Valeria were left to ponder the serendipitous intersection of their paths, bound by a piece of jewelry that carried a legacy of love, loss, and a longing for answers. Richard felt an overwhelming surge of emotions as he stood there, grappling with the astonishing similarity between Valeria's necklace and the one his daughter had worn before she disappeared. The thought that this resemblance could be merely a coincidence seemed implausible. Driven by a deep-seated need to uncover the truth, Richard knew he had to delve further into Valeria's background and understand the origins of that hauntingly familiar necklace. "Interesting," Richard said, his voice carefully measured to conceal the tumult of thoughts racing through his mind. "I trust you're finding the adjustment to your new role to be manageable." Valeria, momentarily relieved by the tone of this conversation, managed a genuine smile. "I'm doing my best, Mr. Maxwell," she replied, her voice carrying a hint of warmth and gratitude for the break from James's relentless scrutiny. Richard gave a brief nod, his thoughts already shifting back to the mystery that now consumed him. He made his way to the refrigerator to retrieve the glass of water he had originally come for, but the simple act of quenching his thirst seemed trivial compared to the whirlwind of questions that had taken hold of his mind. As he turned the cold faucet and watched the water cascade into the glass, he realized that he needed to dig deeper into Valeria's past. That afternoon, as the mansion settled into its usual rhythm, Richard retreated to his private office, a sanctuary where he could strategize and confront his thoughts in solitude. He picked up the phone and dialed the number of an old friend, the owner of a well-regarded detective agency known for its discretion and thoroughness. The call was brief but purposeful. Richard explained the peculiar situation, the resemblance of Valeria's necklace to his missing daughters, and his growing sense of unease. "Please, I need a comprehensive investigation into this young woman's background," Richard said, his voice tinged with an urgency that belied his calm exterior. "Find out everything you can about her past, the origins of that necklace, and any possible connections to my family." As he ended the call, Richard's mind was awash with a tumult of emotions: hope, anxiety, and a gnawing sense of anticipation. He was haunted by the possibility that this young woman might hold a link to a chapter of his life he had long mourned. The idea that Valeria could be connected to his lost daughter in ways he had never imagined filled him with both trepidation and hope. Richard knew that uncovering the truth might bring both answers and new questions, but he was resolute. He was prepared to face whatever revelations might arise, driven by the hope of finally finding closure and understanding amid this unexpected twist of fate. Meanwhile, Valeria continued her daily routine, her world unchanged by the undercurrent of events swirling just beyond her awareness. The necklace she wore, a silent emblem of her enigmatic past, had unwittingly become the focal point of an investigation that had the potential to upend her life in ways she could scarcely imagine. Richard Maxwell was now driven by a relentless determination to uncover the truth, whatever the personal cost might be. In his opulent office, Richard sat in his leather chair, the weight of the phone heavy in his hand. The conversation with his old friend Michael, the detective, had been brief but laden with gravity. Michael had assured Richard that his team would embark on the investigation with immediate effect, leaving no detail overlooked. Richard's mind buzzed with anticipation and apprehension as he contemplated the magnitude of the search he had set in motion. Every moment felt crucial. The quest for answers now dominated his thoughts. Valeria remained engrossed in her daily responsibilities, her life unfolding with relentless consistency. She tackled her tasks with unwavering diligence, her every action a testament to her resolve to prove herself amidst the relentless scrutiny of James's criticisms. But the steady rhythm of her work provided a semblance of normalcy, even as her past remained cloaked in mystery. That evening, Richard, unable to quell his growing impatience, decided to expedite the investigation. The urgency of the situation drove him to pick up the phone once more. He dialed Michael, his tone brooking no delay. "Michael, we need to accelerate this. Spare no expense or effort. I need a thorough and prompt investigation into every facet of Valeria's background. This matter is of utmost importance." "Rest assured," Richard Michael replied, his voice carrying a note of determination. "We'll get right on it and keep you updated with every significant development." A few days later, Michael reached out to Richard with a tone that hinted at a breakthrough. They arranged to meet at a discreet cafe in the heart of the city, a place far removed from prying eyes and inquisitive ears. As they sat across from each other, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Michael wasted no time in delivering the news. "Richard, we've made substantial progress. Our investigation reveals that Valeria was discovered in a park 17 years ago when she was about 2 years old. She was subsequently placed in an orphanage, where she remained until recently." Richard's pulse quickened as he absorbed the information. "And what about the necklace? Is there any lead on who might have left her there?" Michael's expression was somber. "We haven't yet identified anyone directly connected to her past. We're meticulously reviewing all available records and conducting interviews with anyone who might have witnessed something or remembered any details. The presence of the necklace suggests that her abandonment was far from random, indicating that it was likely a deliberate act rather than an accident." Richard's mind raced as he considered the implications. The possibility that this young woman, who had become a part of his household, might be intertwined with his lost daughter's story was both thrilling and unsettling. The investigation was far from over, but Richard was resolute. He was prepared to follow this trail wherever it led, driven by a need to uncover the truth and perhaps, finally, find the closure he had been seeking for so long. Richard took a deep breath, allowing the gravity of the new revelations to sink in. So Valeria has spent her entire life without any knowledge of her origins, entirely unaware of who her parents might be. "Precisely," Michael confirmed. "The orphanage had scant information beyond her being discovered in the park with that necklace. We're actively pursuing leads, searching for any witnesses or clues about who might have left her there." The thought of his missing daughter had never felt so immediate and consuming to Richard. Each new piece of information seemed to draw him closer to an answer he both dreaded and yearned for. He wondered how many times he might have been on the brink of discovering the truth without even realizing it. "Continue the investigation with all available resources, Michael. I need every possible detail. If there's a chance that Valeria is my daughter, I can't afford to overlook it," Richard said, his voice resolute and heavy with emotion. Michael nodded, fully aware of the gravity of the situation. "We'll pursue this with the utmost urgency. Rest assured, I'll keep you updated with every significant development." As Richard returned to the mansion, he struggled to maintain his composure, though his anxiety was palpable. His gaze often lingered on Valeria, observing her with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Every action she took, every gesture she made, seemed to echo the elusive image of his lost daughter, amplifying the stakes of the ongoing investigation. One afternoon, while Valeria was meticulously dusting the shelves in the library, Richard decided to make an unannounced visit. The library, with its walls lined with books and the soft rustle of pages, seemed to offer a quiet backdrop for their encounter. As he entered the room, Valeria looked up, her face registering surprise. Her initial reaction was a fleeting moment of confusion, but it quickly gave way to a shy, welcoming smile. "Good afternoon, Mr. Maxwell," she said, her voice tinged with a hint of nervousness but warm with respect. Richard returned her smile, though his eyes betrayed a depth of contemplation. "Good afternoon, Valeria. I hope you're finding everything to your satisfaction." Valeria nodded, her posture a blend of curiosity and professionalism. "Yes, Mr. Maxwell. I'm doing my best to keep everything in order." Richard's gaze softened as he observed her. He noticed the dedication in her movements, the careful attention she gave to her tasks, and the quiet strength she exuded. Despite the critical scrutiny she faced from James, Valeria seemed to embody a resilience that spoke volumes. As Richard stood there, the weight of the investigation pressing on his mind, he couldn't help but wonder about the extraordinary possibilities that lay ahead. The chance that this young woman, who had become an integral part of his daily life, might be connected to his long-lost daughter filled him with a complex mix of anticipation and trepidation. The next steps in the investigation would be pivotal, and he was prepared to face whatever revelations came to light, hoping against hope that the truth might finally bridge the chasm of the past. "Can I help with something, Mr. Maxwell?" Richard hesitated, his emotions in a delicate balance. "No, I merely wanted to check in on how your work is progressing. Are you adjusting well to your new role?" "Yes, sir," Valeria responded earnestly, her eyes reflecting her genuine appreciation. "I'm learning a great deal and am truly thankful for this opportunity." Richard's gaze drifted to the necklace glinting softly in the library's light, a subtle but constant reminder of the mystery that intertwined their lives. He felt a tightening in his chest, a visceral reminder of the unresolved past. "Continue with the excellent work, Valeria. Your dedication has not gone unnoticed." Valeria expressed her gratitude and returned to her duties, her focus unwavering. Unbeknownst to her, Richard was grappling with a storm of emotions, each day intensifying his anxiety and longing for clarity. As the weeks wore on, the investigation seemed to tread water, with no significant breakthroughs emerging. Richard's days were filled with mounting apprehension, each tick of the clock amplifying his hope that the search would soon yield the crucial answers he desperately sought. Then, one evening, Michael's call brought a flicker of renewed hope. "Richard, we've uncovered a significant lead. A witness recalls seeing a woman in the park 17 years ago wearing a necklace remarkably similar to Valeria's. We're scheduled to interview her soon to gather more details." Richard's heart leaped at the news, a mixture of excitement and trepidation flooding his senses. "Please keep me updated with any developments immediately. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." The prospect of a breakthrough invigorated Richard with cautious optimism. The possibility of finally unearthing the truth about Valeria and potentially reconnecting with his long-lost daughter seemed tantalizingly close. The ensuing days would be pivotal in determining whether his protracted search for answers would finally reach its long-awaited conclusion. When Margot received the confirmation, her reaction was one of profound emotional release. She was momentarily frozen by the gravity of the news before an overwhelming wave of joy and disbelief overtook her. Tears streamed down her face as she rushed to embrace Valeria, her heart brimming with a mixture of elation and relief. "My daughter, our daughter," Margot exclaimed, her voice choked with emotion as she clutched Valeria tightly. "I can hardly believe it. We finally found her." The embrace was filled with a powerful sense of reunion, marking the culmination of a journey fraught with hope and heartache. The long-sought truth had been revealed, and the fragmented pieces of the past were finally coming together, offering a glimpse of healing and renewal. Margot's embrace was a balm to Valeria's soul, filling a deep void that had lingered for as long as she could remember. It was a moment of profound connection and warmth, the kind of embrace that promised unconditional love and acceptance. For Valeria, who had spent years feeling like a stranger to herself, the sensation of having a mother who loved her so deeply was both overwhelming and comforting. The atmosphere in the Maxwell mansion transformed dramatically. It was as if joy had seeped into every corner, radiating a new sense of belonging and celebration. The employees, who had previously watched the unfolding changes with a mix of curiosity and trepidation, now found themselves swept up in the family's elation. They joined in the festivities, their smiles reflecting the shared happiness of this newfound family unity. From a discreet distance, James, the butler, observed the scene with a restrained demeanor. Despite his outward composure, the unfolding situation stirred a complex mix of emotions within him. Valeria's integration into the Maxwell family life signaled significant shifts in the household dynamics, and James, whose position in the house had always been firmly established, found himself grappling with a sense of uncertainty and unease. As Valeria began to settle into her new role, Richard and Margot made a concerted effort to include her in all facets of family life. From intimate family dinners to crucial discussions about the family business, Valeria was embraced as an integral part of their world. This inclusion, while heartwarming, came with its own set of challenges. Richard, ever determined to ensure Valeria's successful transition, took it upon himself to mentor her in the intricacies of the family business. His commitment was evident as he imparted his knowledge with a blend of patience and expectation. "I want you to know," Valeria, Richard said during one of their discussions, his tone earnest and encouraging, "that I am here to support you every step of the way. You are now a part of this family, and together we will strive to build a bright and successful future." Valeria, her heart swelling with gratitude and resolve, nodded in response. She was acutely aware that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges and obstacles. Yet, with the unwavering support of Richard and Margot, she felt an invigorated sense of purpose and readiness to face whatever came her way. Meanwhile, James observed the unfolding changes with growing apprehension. The presence of Valeria, with her newfound position in the Maxwell family, was set to alter the established order within the household. As the dynamics shifted, so too did James's sense of security and status within the mansion. His internal conflict was marked by a burgeoning unease, tinged with envy and anxiety about the future. The changes brought on by Valeria's arrival promised to reshape not only the Maxwell family's internal dynamics, but also James's role and influence within the household. The weeks following the revelation were a whirlwind of emotions, transitions, and new routines for Valeria. Life as a member of the Maxwell family was slowly taking shape, and the mansion, once merely a place of work, was beginning to feel like a true home. Each day brought fresh experiences and new insights into the family's daily activities and the intricate workings of their business. Valeria's adaptation was not without its challenges, but she embraced every moment with a deep sense of gratitude and determination. One serene evening, as the golden light of the setting sun cast a warm glow over the dining room, Richard and Valeria found themselves alone at the dinner table. Margot had retired for the night, leaving father and daughter in a rare moment of intimate conversation. The ambience was calm, the air filled with the soft clinking of cutlery and the comforting hum of the mansion's quiet. Richard, his gaze steady and contemplative, set aside his fork and leaned forward slightly. "Valeria," he began, his voice gentle but tinged with curiosity, There's something I've been meaning to ask you. It's about the day you were found. Do you have any memories, however faint, that might shed light on what happened?" Valeria's brow furrowed as she delved into the recesses of her childhood memories. The details were elusive, like wisps of fog that shifted just beyond her grasp. "I was very young at the time she started," her voice soft and reflective. "But there's one thing that stuck with me through the years. I remember a man, his face is a blur, but his presence is clear. He was the one who brought me to the park." Richard's expression grew even more intense, his heart aching as he listened. The thought of his daughter being left alone in such a vulnerable state was painful. "What else can you recall about him? Anything at all?" Valeria continued, her eyes distant as she pieced together her fragmented recollections. "He seemed very nervous. I could sense that he was anxious and unsure. He told me to wait there and that someone would come to get me. I remember feeling frightened, but I trusted him in that moment." Richard's heart weighed heavily with the new insight. The image of a nervous man, leaving a young child alone in a park, was both heartbreaking and puzzling. The details, though sparse, painted a clearer picture of the circumstances surrounding Valeria's abandonment. "We must find out more about this man," Richard said, his voice resolute and filled with a newfound urgency. "Every detail could be crucial in understanding what happened and perhaps uncovering more about your past." Valeria nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and hope. The conversation had opened up new avenues of inquiry, and she could sense that the search for answers was far from over. Richard's determination was a beacon of support and strength, and with each revelation, the bond between them grew stronger. As the evening wore on, the conversation drifted to lighter topics, but the weight of the day's discussion lingered in both their minds. The quest to piece together the fragments of Valeria's past continued, driven by the hope that each new detail would bring them closer to the truth and to a deeper understanding of the mysterious events that had shaped her life. Richard's eyes held a steely resolve as he looked at Valeria. "Even the smallest detail can be pivotal. We need to uncover every possible clue about that man. Anything you remember, no matter how insignificant it seems, could be crucial." Valeria sighed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I really can't recall much more, just that he seemed to be in a hurry and he wore a hat. Everything else is too blurry." Richard gently took her hand in his expression softening with determination. "We'll find him, Valeria. We will uncover the truth. I'll reach out to Michael immediately and ask him to focus on this new lead." The following morning, Richard wasted no time. He called Michael, urgency evident in his tone. "Michael, we've got new information. Valeria remembers a few more details about the man who left her in the park. He was nervous, seemed rushed, and might have been wearing a hat. I need you to dive deeper into this lead and use all available resources." Michael, known for his thoroughness, immediately responded with a reassuring tone. "Understood, Richard. We'll revisit the investigation with this new focus. We'll review old records, interview potential witnesses, and examine every possible lead related to that day in the park. We won't leave any stone unturned." As Michael set his plan into motion, Valeria grappled with a storm of emotions. There was a sense of relief in finally sharing her fragmented memories and receiving Richard's unwavering support. Yet a knot of anxiety tightened in her chest, uncertain of what the continued investigation might unearth. The thought of confronting her past and the potential revelations about her origins was both daunting and hopeful. In the mansion, James observed the unfolding events with a growing sense of unease. The changes brought by Valeria's presence were disrupting the familiar rhythm of the household. His once secure position felt increasingly precarious, overshadowed by the whirlwind of family dynamics and the impending transformation. The uncertainty about his future began to gnaw at him, adding to his anxiety. Michael's investigation quickly began to show promise. He reached out to former employees of the orphanage, as well as residents living near the park where Valeria had been found. Each interview, each search through old records, started to piece together a more detailed, though still incomplete, picture of that fateful day. One particularly promising lead came from an elderly woman who remembered seeing a man with a hat in the park around the time Valeria was abandoned. Her description of the man's demeanor and actions provided new insights. She recalled that the man had been agitated and frequently glanced around as if fearing someone might spot him. As Michael delved deeper into this new lead, the investigation began to take shape. The elderly woman's recollections added a layer of context to the puzzle, hinting at a narrative that was slowly coming into focus. Richard anxiously awaited updates, each bit of information bringing him closer to understanding what had happened to his daughter and, perhaps, to reconnecting with Valeria on a deeper level. In the midst of this, Valeria continued her integration into the Maxwell family. Despite the challenges, her determination to prove herself never wavered. She embraced her new role with enthusiasm, motivated by the hope that each day might bring her closer to the answers she sought about her past. The mansion, once a place of mere employment, was gradually becoming a haven of new beginnings, filled with both promise and uncertainty. The days ahead held the potential for revelations that could reshape Valeria's life forever, as the investigation promised to unravel the truth hidden for so many years. Richard's concern about James's behavior was growing. The butler's evident discontent and erratic actions were starting to create a noticeable rift within the household. Despite his long service and previously unquestionable loyalty, James's recent attitude was a source of unease for Richard. One evening, as Valeria worked on some documents in the study, she overheard a heated exchange between James and one of the house staff in the kitchen. James's voice was low but tinged with frustration, and Valeria caught snippets of his complaints about the recent changes in the household. Although the conversation wasn't directed at her, the bitterness in James's tone was unmistakable. Determined to address the issue, Richard decided to have another private discussion with James. This time he aimed to delve deeper into the butler's underlying issues and find out if there was something he had been hiding. "James, I need to speak with you again," Richard said, calling the butler to his office. James entered, his expression a mask of professionalism, but Richard could sense the tension beneath the surface. "James, I want to be clear," Richard began, leaning forward. "Valeria's presence here is a positive change for this family. She's my daughter, and she deserves the same respect and opportunities as anyone else. I need to know if you're having trouble accepting this change, or if there's something else troubling you." James's posture stiffened. "Mr. Maxwell, I assure you I am dedicated to my duties in the family. It's simply a matter of adjusting to the new dynamics. I've been here a long time, and changes are always challenging." Richard studied James's face, searching for any signs of deceit. "I understand that change can be difficult, but if there's something specific that's bothering you, I need you to be honest with me. Trust is crucial in this household, and I expect it to be mutual." James hesitated, then finally spoke. "It's not just about Valeria. It's about how everything is shifting. My role in this household feels uncertain, and I fear that I'm losing my place." Richard's expression softened slightly. "James, your role here has always been important, and it still is. If you're feeling unsure about your place, let's discuss how we can address those concerns. I want you to be part of this family and to feel valued." James's eyes showed a flicker of vulnerability. "I appreciate that, Mr. Maxwell. I'm just finding it hard to adapt to these rapid changes." Richard nodded. "Let's work on this together. If you have specific concerns, or if there's anything we can do to help you feel more secure, please let me know. I value your long service and dedication, and I want to ensure that you feel supported." The conversation ended on a more conciliatory note. with Richard hoping that his words would help ease James's unease. However, he remained cautious, aware that the butler's true feelings might still be unresolved. Meanwhile, Michael's investigation into Valeria's past was progressing. The witness's description of the man with the hat, coupled with other leads, was starting to paint a clearer picture. Michael had traced down several potential suspects who might have been connected to the day Valeria was left in the park. One afternoon, Michael contacted Richard with an update. "Richard, we've made some significant progress. We've identified a few individuals who were in the vicinity of the park around the time Valeria was abandoned. We're now working to see if any of them might be connected to the man you're looking for." Richard's heart raced with anticipation. "That's excellent news. Keep me updated on any developments. We're so close to uncovering the full story." As the investigation moved forward, Richard and Valeria remained hopeful. They knew that with each step, they were drawing closer to the truth about Valeria's origins. Despite the ongoing tension within the mansion, they were united in their pursuit of answers, ready to confront whatever revelations might come their way. James's discontent continued to simmer, but Richard hoped that addressing his concerns openly would help alleviate some of the tension. The future of the Maxwell family was at a crossroads, with old loyalties being tested and new beginnings on the horizon. James stood silently in the office, his usually composed demeanor shattered by the gravity of the situation. The evidence presented by Richard was undeniable, and the weight of his actions seemed to crush him. His betrayal, once hidden beneath layers of loyalty and service, was now exposed. "Mr. Maxwell," James began, his voice quivering, "I never meant for any of this to happen. It was a mistake, a desperate act." Richard's expression was a mix of anguish and disbelief. "A mistake? You left my daughter in a park, abandoned, and all these years you've been living under our roof, pretending to be a part of this family." James's eyes were filled with regret. "I was involved in a situation beyond my control. I was coerced into taking Valeria to the park, and I feared for my safety if I refused. It was a dark time, and I made a terrible decision." Richard's anger flared. "Your fears do not justify what you did. You chose to betray us, and now you have to face the consequences. You are no longer welcome here." James nodded, his shoulders slumping under the weight of his guilt. "I understand. I am deeply sorry for the pain I've caused. I will leave immediately." Richard watched as James left the office, his heart heavy with the burden of the truth. The mansion felt different, as if the air had shifted with the departure of someone who had been a constant presence for so long. In the days that followed, Richard and Valeria tried to focus on their renewed commitment to each other and their family. Despite the shock and betrayal, they were determined to move forward and build a future grounded in trust and honesty. Michael continued to provide updates, and with James's departure, the investigation into the broader implications of his actions began to focus more clearly. The connections James had with Valeria's abandonment were being thoroughly examined, and any additional details that could shed light on the situation were being pursued. Margot, though initially devastated by the revelations about James, found solace in the fact that Richard and Valeria were closer than ever. She supported Richard's decisions and worked alongside Valeria to help her integrate fully into the family and the business. Valeria, though deeply affected by the discovery of James's involvement, was resolute. She felt a profound sense of relief knowing that she was not alone and that her place in the Maxwell family was secure. The unconditional love and support she received from Richard and Margot gave her the strength to face the future with hope. As the weeks turned into months, the Maxwell family began to heal from the turmoil caused by James's betrayal. They continued to navigate their way through the challenges, united by their commitment to each other and their shared future. The mansion, once a symbol of unresolved pain and betrayal, began to transform into a true home, a place of warmth, trust, and renewed beginnings. As we wrap up this chapter of Valeria's journey, we've witnessed a dramatic transformation filled with revelations, betrayals, and the pursuit of truth. From the initial discovery of Valeria's past to the shocking involvement of James and the subsequent healing of the Maxwell family, it's been a story of resilience, redemption, and the power of familial bonds. What have you learned from Valeria's journey and the trials faced by the Maxwell family? How do you think these experiences might resonate with your own life? Share one key takeaway you've gained from this story and how you plan to apply it in your own life in the comments below. Your insights and reflections are invaluable. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more engaging content. Your support helps us bring more stories and lessons to our community. Thank you for watching.